Hello everyone, welcome to the editorial analysis of the Shankar IAS Academy, brought to you by the Civils team, and today's editorial articles are for the date of 21st of January 2025. So before looking into the topics for discussion, there's just a small announcement. The Shankar IAS Academy is conducting the UPSC mock interview of 2024 for all of the students. So the slots would be available for the date of 27, 28, 29 and 30th of January 2025, and the mode is in offline and the venue would be in Chennai. So the interested aspirants can look in for the registration process. So now let us move on to the topics for discussion. The first article titled Capex Quandary from the Hindu talks about the importance of the private partnerships and the investments in the capital expenditure. And the next topic titled MIS and not MSP from the Hindu discusses and debates about change of the minimum support price to the minimum income support. So without any much further delay, let's get into the articles discussion one by one along with the mains practice question. So the first article titled MIS not MSP discusses about the importance of the minimum income support and the minimum support price. So the minimum support price, or famously known as or commonly known as the MSP, is a policy tool or a policy intervention which has been created or set by the government for certain crops for having productivity, agriculture productivity, and having fair income for the farmers of India. So the article discusses about the importance of having a change from the MSP, that is change from a price tool to having a income tool, that is minimum income support. So here there is debate going on from moving on from guaranteeing a minimum prices for the crop rather to assuring some kind of minimum income for the farmers. So the article discusses and debates about the importance of the shift from having a minimum support price mechanism to directly having a minimum income support which involves money in nature. So in light of this article, we'd be seeing the basics or the concept of the MSP and the challenges and impact associated with it. So this is the mains question. Examine the shift from minimum support price to minimum income support as a solution for farmers' challenges in India, considering past agricultural reforms and farmer protests. So let us see a framework for this question, and I also ask the aspirants to put in the answer in the comment section. Now, what is minimum support price? So according to the definition, it is a government set price guarantee to protect the farmers from falling market prices. So it acts as a safety net for the farmers during price volatility. Price volatility is nothing but price fluctuations. So for example, if this is a crop and I would be setting and I would be giving a price bar to this crop which can be 2000 for example. Now because of the market fluctuation or the market demand and supply, the crop price has been reduced to 1800. So even though the market price has reduced, I decided a price for it and I am buying this crop even at 2000 rupees, even though the actual price would be 1800 from the farmers, and I would be selling it to the other participants or the other consumers in the market, so that the farmers are getting fair income and at the same time there is agricultural productivity even during the price fluctuations and other economic instabilities. So I hope you can understand what is minimum support price. So moving on to the coordinating authority, it is fixed by the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And looking into the timing, the price is always fixed before the sowing season, that is both for the Kharif and as well as the Rabi season. Now looking into few criterias for the government to set the MSP. First is because of the cost of production. The cost of production, which can include seeds, fertilizers and other factors. When setting the price for the crops such as the minimum support price, the government has to take in the criteria of the factor called cost of production. Next is the factor of demand and supply. Sometimes there would be a higher need for the product, or sometimes there would be a lesser need for the crop. So in taking those criterias, the price has to be set properly, so there is stability even during the price fluctuations. Next is checking in the market price trend, then looking into the impact on consumers as well as the economy. So since buying after setting the price, and when the government buys the crop from the farmers is out of the scenario, and the product is for the consumers at the end. So in keeping the market trends of the consumers and how they consume certain products, the criteria to set up the price has to be taken in mind, so that there is an impact in the larger economy. Next is having criteria should be from the factors such as the recommendations by the CACP, as since they are the coordinating authority. And finally, if there is any term trade between the agriculture and trade departments, those criteria need to be taken in mind during the setting up of the minimum support prices. So this is a recent update from the PIB. Here the minimum support price for the various crops have been mandated, which are 22 in number, and it has been mandated on the recommendation by the Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, that is the CACP. So but usually there are 23 crops in nature, where here for sugarcane there would be fair and remunerative prices and not MSP. So these are the crops which are covered in the minimum support price. So under cereals it is rice, wheat and barley. In pulses it is gram, arhar or the tur, moong, urad and lentils. In the coarse grains it is maize, jowar, bajra, ragi. In oil seeds it's groundnut, rapeseed and mustard together, soybean, safflower oil, niger seed and sesame seeds. And in other crops, cotton, copra or the it's a dried coconut, copra or copra, cotton, copra and raw jute. So these are the main 22 crops are mandated under the MSP. So let us look into the benefits of the MSP. First is having a income security. Here the government is guaranteed by having a price setup, and this price provide stability. So even if there is, as I told before, even if there is a price reduction according to the market, whatever the price has been set, that would be given to the farmers so that they have a stable income. Next is price stabilization. They cover the production cost and stabilizes food prices. Here, as I told before, looking into the criteria to set the MSP, cost of production is also taken in mind. Next, it encourages production. Here, it motivates the farmers to increase the crop output. Since there is a guarantee on the price cap, since there is a guarantee on the price setup, here it increases the farmers' ability to bring in diversification of crops. Next is protection against market fluctuations. Here it shields farmers during the surplus production. So more than the amount given, there would be products. So if there is an overproduction of the products, there would be a bumper of fall, or there would be a sharp fall in the price. So during that moment, it would be the government where they would be helping through having a price setup. So these are the benefits when it comes to the MSP. Now what the article discusses is to bring in the category of minimum income support. So this was initiated in the year 2019 to 20 in the union budget. So here it is a government set price money guarantee to protect the farmers from falling market prices. So here the objective is it ensures basic living expenses coverage, poverty alleviation and income equality. So rather than setting the prices, here this mechanism talks about bringing in an income or a money for the farmers and the other categories of people to have direct amount or income in their agricultural field. So looking into the benefits of MIS, first having a income security. It makes them reliable for income on basic expenses and reducing stress. Rather than having the dependency on the market fluctuations, here when the amount is given, it brings in the covering of the basic expense and it reduces stress. Next, it encourages investment. Here it promotes better farming practices and input usage. Next is the idea of poverty elevation. So through the minimum income support, it improves the living conditions for the small and marginal farmers. Next is protection against crop failure. Here it acts as safety net during poor harvest or climate change. Next is rural income growth. Finally, it boosts the local economies through the consumer spending, where there is involvement of income and there is better uh, reach or better increase in the speed of bringing in the production, and it directly reaches the customers rather than government being a mediator. So now looking into the advantages of shifting from MSP to MIS, first it has a wider coverage. Here it supports all farmers regardless of the crops growth. So rather than having certain crops mandated, it can be all crops together. Next is it includes the implementation of the direct benefit transfer. Since it involves money, it helps to be transparent, timely delivery to the bank accounts through the direct benefit transfer. Next is having reduced market distortions. So distortions is nothing but an unusual activity due to certain market price fluctuations and other government initiatives or subsidies. So during those movement, there would be overproduction. So it prevents that overproduction of specific crops by giving in direct money for various crops, so that they don't need to be dependent on certain crop alone. Next is flexibility. Here the financial support for diverse needs such as the inputs, debts and other family expenses are taken in care. And finally, it encourages crop diversification. Here it promotes sustainable farming practices as it includes various crops. So thus MIS is seen as a form of income subsidies. So subsidies, when you look into subsidies, it involves the cost of production such as the seeds, fertilizers, which is uh, input factors, and the output factors such as the food grains and so on. So looking into their types, there are two. One is direct and indirect. So the direct can be subsidies of seed fertilizers, like seeds, fertilizers alone and so on. And indirect subsidies can be subsidized fuel prices or tax exemptions. So these are the subsidies. So the MIS is not a directly a subsidy, but it is a form of income subsidy where there is direct involvement of money. So I hope the article is clear. So let us move on to the second news titled Capex Quandary on the economic data policy. So this article basically discusses how the uh, Capex, that is the capital expenditure, uh, is an important public tool for the infrastructural projects being used in our economy to pump prime the economic recovery. So the article basically argues that the role of private partnership programs, that is the private investors, are very less, and it has high impact in the numerical representation of the country, that is the GDP, and at the same time it shows their reduced role in the policy implementation and other infrastructural projects. So in light of this article, let us see topics of concepts related to the capex. So we'll see a mains question and we will move on to the framework for it, and I ask the students to put in their framework of answer in the comment section. So this is the question. Analyze the challenges faced in implementing the government's ambitious capital expenditure target in the post-COVID recovery phase. Suggest policy interventions to balance the fiscal deficiency or rectitude and infrastructural development. Now what is capex? So first, we should know what is the term expenditure. So the term expenditure in economic terms defines the spending by the government or any businesses or even individuals on the goods and services for the country. So the expenditures can be commonly two types. One is the revenue expenditure and next is the capital expenditure. Revenue expenditure are expenditures or amount spent by the government, businessman or the individuals for routinistic happenings in the economy. For example, salaries, subsidies, pensions, households and so on. So these are the revenue expenditure which can be simplistic in nature. Next is the capital expenditure, where these are funds which are or investments which are procured in the larger infrastructural products such as the roads, bridges and so on. So there is long term investment. So through the investment of infrastructural projects like the roads or connectivity, pipeline and so on, so there is generation of employment through labor inducing, through migration and so on. So there is larger goal, so there is goal of larger investment at the end. So these are the types of expenditure when it comes to the economy, that is the revenue and capital. So here, looking into the definition, it is funds spent on acquiring, maintaining or upgrading the physical asset. Here, revenue expenditure doesn't need to be an asset, but it is maintained in infrastructure and operations, whereas the capital expenditure are mostly in the form of assets. So upgrading the physical assets can be included in the capex. For example, infrastructure, machinery, buildings and so on. So the ultimate objective is to enhance the productive capacity, having long term growth and development. So this is the concept of expenditure in the economics. So here the article discusses how the share of the private investments in the capex is reducing in the growth of our economy. So we should know how important the role of private investments in capex. First is the factor of multiplier effect. Here it boosts demand, employment generation and the GDP. So multiplier effect is nothing but for example, if you take a bank or if you take a government where they are investing 1,000 rupees for an infrastructure project, so how this 1,000 rupees will be gradually leading to other employment generation, such as if this 1,000 rupees is invested in a bridge building, so there is migration of people, there is an increase of employment generation, and it multiplies to various other governmental and capital investments, and there is a cycle of generation, income generation all again. So there is multiply, so there is higher amount, that is multiplication of the income in higher amount. So this is the multiplier effect. So this multiplier is based on the concept or the uh, term called the marginal propensity of consumption. So here we can assess or evaluate the intensity of the multiplication by the concept of marginal propensity to consume. So for example, if an household is having a extra income of 1,000 rupees, rather than saving, they would be putting that 1,000 rupees in more consumption. So that amount given for that consumption, such as services like buying a land or investing in any other projects, investing in chits and so on, it would have a multiplier effect. So based on this marginal propensity to consumption, the multiplier effect would be more and more. So I hope the importance of private investment in the capex is understood. Next is the economic efficiency. Here there is optimal use of the resources allocation being done properly for many infrastructural projects and better project execution. Next is having sustainable growth. Here it complements the public spending. Public spending by the private partnerships help in the investments, and at the same time brings in a larger infrastructural projects, and it ensures sustained capital formation. So there is balance or stability in the economic, where there is public spending by both the government as well as the private owners. And finally is to have technology and innovation. Here it encourages adoption of advanced technologies like the AI. Now let us see few government initiatives where there has been policy intervention to increase the capex. So in the recent union budget of 2024-25, almost 11 lakh crore for the public capex has been introduced, that is almost 3.4% of the GDP. So here our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced the 11 lakh crore on the capex spends this year, amounting to 3.4% on the GDP. Next is the introduction of the PLI scheme. So this production linked incentive scheme, which was introduced in 2020 to boost the manufacturing sector, bring in attracting investments, and at the end of the day it encourages economic production. So here the PLI schemes would be providing financial incentives for the companies or startup companies to increase their production based on their incremental increase. So here through this scheme there is giving of the financial incentive can be rewards for incremental increase. Incremental increase is nothing but if a company is setting a base, or if a company is setting a goal of production. For example, the company's goal is to bring in 50% of profit, then in next year they should be providing even more production of percentage, that is they should produce more than 50% than the last year. So if a company brings in an incremental increase, so that is called as incremental increase. So according to that incremental increase, financial incentives are provided by the government. Here almost 1 lakh crore for the manufacturing sector such as the electronics, pharmaceuticals and EVs are given to increase the capex. Next is the National Infrastructural Pipeline Scheme. It was introduced in 2019, where the objective is to produce in the connectivity for exchange of energy transportation sector. So here almost 111 lakh crore investments are done by the government by the 2025. Next is the PM Gati Shakti plan. Here it brings in an integrated approach to improve logistics and expenditure on the infrastructural projects, and this project was introduced in 2021. Next is corporate tax cuts. Here the government is reducing the amount of tax percentage on companies, such as for new farming firms or any startup firms it is only 15%, and for other companies there has been reduction of 22%. So this tax reduction initiative is done to bring down the tax burden on the companies, and they can focus more on the profit increase. So the amount spent on the tax can be increased if there is tax reduction. So corporate companies are having this benefit to increase the capex. Next is the Make in India initiative. Here it promotes the domestic manufacturing, where there is investment of the private sector in the capital intensive sectors. Next is ease of doing business reforms. Here there is simplification and compliance. How everyone are under the tax regime and having a single without clearance. So for example, one solution program by the government can be taken as an example. Now we have seen the government initiatives. Now we have to see the challenges in increasing the capex. Here first is having weak private sector. So there is declining capex intentions due to global uncertainties, low demand, high cost. See here, according to the article, there has been a value drop of 1.4% from the Q2, while the new projects dropped over 22% from the last year. So these can be the reasons of global uncertainties, spiking costs, uh, other corporate risks, and having instability in the urban markets. So Q2 is nothing but in any economical terms or in any financial or capital calendars, the year is divided into 4 groups, that is Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. They are known as quarters of a financial year. So Q1 is from Jan 1st to March 31st. Q2 is from April 1st to June 30. Q3 is July 1st to September 30, and Q4 is from October 1 to December 31st. So these are the quarterly years of a financial year. So according to the article in 2024, during the quarterly year during the third quarterly year, there has been 1.4 drop percentage in the domestic investments. Next is having fiscal constraints. Here there is limited scope for the public capex due to the fiscal consolidations needs. So according to this point, there has been no scope, or there has been no attention to the public capex due to the increasing of the revenue, that is the fiscal consolidation. So here fiscal consolidation is nothing but reducing the budget deficit through higher revenues and lower expenditures. So lower expenditures can be increase a cutting of the subsidies, and higher revenues can be, for example, increasing the tax rates. So through these methods, there is reduction of budget deficit, and there is no scope or there is no need to look into the public capex, where the public capex would be including the borrowing and spending of money, where in the fiscal consolidation there would be no borrowing or no spending of the money. So there is no change in the inflation. So the fiscal consolidation is the opposite to the public capex. So this can stand as a major challenge when it comes to increasing the capex. Next is demand side weakness. Here there is in the urban market there is sometimes high demand and high inflation. Next challenges would be global challenges such as geopolitical tensions, other rising interest rates, supply chain disruptions like the China's BRI. Next is policy gap. Here there is delay in many reforms, implementation, inadequate incentives for many risky projects. Next is project implementation issues such as the land acquisition or regulatory bottlenecks such as issues in implementing. So let us look a way forward. First is to boost the consumption and incomes. For example, you can take encouraging of the MSME growth, strengthening the rural and urban incomes, bringing in welfare schemes. So there is including more and more participants, that is both government, private as well as individuals. Next is to bringing in reforms, implementing reforms, improving the land and labor and tax policies, trying to bring in a legal advisory form or companies, or bringing in the think tanks. So there is awareness and there is problem solving. Next is to focus on the sector specific incentives, that is expanding the PLI schemes to more other emerging and sustainable sectors such as the green hydrogen, renewables, AI, especially in the energy sectors. For example, you can take solar sector. Next is enhancing financing option, that is developing the green bonds and so on. And finally, strengthening the public private partnerships, bringing the factor of facilitating the risk sharing model. So there is introduction of more new startups and creativity increase, which can largely impact in the field like tourism also. And next would be streamlining project execution. Here there is improving of the coordination between the governments, thus it can minimize the delay. So since there is a lot of participation, the work can be divided. And next is to ensure investor confidence. Finally, when there is a stability with the government, private and the individuals, it brings in the confidence of both the investor and the consumers who are investing in it. So here it maintains the policy stability and brings in the reduction of the bureaucratic hurdle, where it is not one authority taking the power, where there is involvement of every stakeholders. So there is good governance altogether. I hope you are at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give a like, comment and share, and to further not to miss any other content, since the exam would be nearing and since the notification would be coming soon, subscribe to our channel for daily analysis. Thank you and have a nice day.